peace in Yemen, Syria and between Israel and the Palestinians as he delivered his Christmas message at the Vatican. The pontiff saying he hoped a truce brokered in Yemen would bring relief to all people exhausted by war and famine. Joining us now live from Bayswater in central London, Jack Valero from the group Catholic Voices. Jack, Merry Christmas to you. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us today. Let's have a look at some of the translated words that the Pope was using. Fraternity among people with different ideas, yet capable of respecting and listening to one another is one of what things he was calling for. A man who certainly knows politically where the world is at the moment, it seems.
Exactly, the world is very divided, but I think it's interesting that he started saying God is a good father and we are his children, and therefore we are brothers and sisters. We have to practice this fraternity. And that's the only answer that he sees to all these conflicts which seem irreconcilable or very impossible to solve. So he listed all those: Israel, Yemen, Venezuela, Nicaragua. And he encouraged us to be brothers and sisters. What's really interesting to me was to connect that what he was saying last night, because he was talking about the insatiable greed of consumerism and how in order to live together, we actually need to think, do we really need all these material things? Can we live a simpler life? If we live a simpler life, maybe it's easier to live together. I mean, he himself is somebody who lives a simpler life. He wants to live, drive a small car, live in a smaller place. And then he also challenged us, are we ready to break bread with those who have none? It was interesting that for his birthday a week ago, he had a party with all the homeless of the area, something challenging us, is this what you are able to do in the world? And doing those things is how he is encouraging us to live this fraternity. That was the message today.
Yes, interesting that you bring up yesterday, and as you were saying, that sort of critique of consumerism. He said, today the road is uphill, the heights of our selfishness need to be surmounted. Is that something that he's talked about a lot during his papacy, or was it a surprise to hear that?
No, exactly. He's been talking a lot about it, and in a sense, he's fighting worldliness, not just around, but also in the church. He's in the process of reforming the Vatican, and he has also seen that there's worldliness in the Vatican and around the people who work with him. Some of them, not all, of course, some are very, very good people. And so he's constantly talking about this from the beginning, from the time that he got rid of all the large cars and started being driven in a little car and all that. He's always been talking about a simple life. And I think that connects very well with what he was saying today. If we're able to live a simple life, if we're not all wanting these material goods, then we don't need to fight. We can live together in peace, which is the message of today. So I think the two things are together, and it's like it's a continuation of what he has been saying for 6 years now. This is the 6th time that he has spoken to us at Christmas time.
2018, a tough year in some respects for the Catholic Church, of course. I remember when Pope Francis visited Ireland earlier in the year, much diminished crowds, but also in the context of the sexual abuse crisis and abusive priests. And it was interesting to note that his address to the Curia last week, he continues to highlight that, Pope Francis. Do you think that he will take that on and really try to answer those questions in 2019?
Exactly. I think that's a very important topic. I mean, 2018 has been a bit of an annus horribilis with all the revelations in Pennsylvania and McCarrick and Ireland and Germany, everywhere. I think Chile, the year started with Chile. So I think it has been a tough year. He has set up a meeting in February 2019 with the top Catholic in each country, the head of the Bishops' Conference, to discuss this problem of sexual abuse in the church, which he's talking not just about a sexual fault, a sexual sin, but also the corruption that goes with it, the cover-up, the hiding. And the speech to the address to the Curia that you referred to was extremely tough. And I think he's preparing us for a very tough and decisive meeting in February, where he will want to tackle these things that have been going on and on, or perceived to be going on and on in the church for many decades. And now he's saying, look, this is really important. There are two reforms that he's carrying out that will come to a head in 2019. One is the sexual abuse crisis that that there's this meeting in February, and then there's the implementation of all the things that come out of that. And then there's the financial reform, which is also something that he's been working on with his helpers for some years. And there is a document coming out early in the year, and then there are accounts coming out, and there's a whole reform which is really important, because the church isn't credible unless it has financial probity. So the two things are very important for the church in 2019.
OK, Jack, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us on Christmas Day, and we'll look forward to seeing progress on those issues in the coming year. Thanks, Jack. Let's have a look at